Juanita Fry. I chair the Human Rights Commission and welcome all of you here this evening. The Human Rights Commission is guided by the principles embodied in the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Smith, and I'm part of an organization called We Are Change Portland. I have a few thoughts. Big Brother telescreens equipped with loudspeakers in more than 9,000 public locations, spewing state-funded paranoia, droning on about terrorism. Naked body porno scanners ran by poorly trained security goons on power trips. People voluntarily being irradiated in X-ray machines for their own protection. Militarized police teams in black uniforms carrying machine guns while patrolling subway platforms and bus stations. Accompanied by bomb-sniffing dogs, parents with dead cow eyes stare blankly as children are disrobed by strangers in public. Once free human beings now reduced to simpering child-minded victims. Portable guard towers being rolled out in shopping center parking lots equipped with loudspeakers and floodlighting. The people herded through turnstiles as goons in latex gloves rummaged through backpacks and citizens' pockets in total disregard for the Fourth Amendment, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights. The Director of National Intelligence calmly announces its own citizens can be targeted for assassination if they are merely suspected of being a terrorist threat. No judge, no jury, no nothing, just an executioner. All these things I've just read aloud are situations that had happened yesterday and will happen tomorrow. To add insult to injury, to further take a bat to the knees of Lady Liberty, the FBI are staging fake bomb attacks to justify the creation of a secret Stasi-like police force in Portland. Compound all these things I've just read. I'm sorry. Is this a world we want to live in? I say no. Let's send the FBI packing to terrorize some other city. I believe Mohammed Osman Mohammed was set up as an unwitting patsy, and here's why. In order to be found to have entrapped someone into committing a crime, law enforcement agents have to be able to prove that Mohammed was independently predisposed to committing a crime in the first place. To prove that, undercover agents are often careful to stress the accused had multiple choices. They then induce him into choosing whether or not he's going to commit the crime of his own volition.
My name is Gregory Fiegel. Most of the terrorist bombings of the past 60 years were not committed by radical Muslims. They were committed by the intelligence agencies of the United States, Israel, and the United Kingdom. The Western intelligence agencies have committed a long series of false flag bombings and attacks that were falsely blamed on Muslims. These false flag attacks serve to create an illusion of a global threat of Islamic terrorism, when in reality, no such threat exists. The false flag attacks committed by the USA and its allies have provided an excuse for the US-led wars of aggression against resource-rich Muslim countries. Al-Qaeda is a fiction that was created by the CIA. The 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center in New York City was an FBI operation that recruited and exploited several Muslim patsies. It was the FBI agents who made the decision to detonate the bomb at the World Trade Center in 1993, which killed 6 people and injured more than 1,000 others. The Portland Christmas tree incident of 2010 was yet another false flag event staged by the FBI for the purpose of creating public hysteria about a non-existent Islamic terror threat. The infamous attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon on 9/11/2001 were perpetrated by agents and officials of the US government and the Israeli Mossad. The US government wants to set up a local headquarters for its Joint Terrorism Task Force here in Portland. The JTTF will spy on citizens infiltrate peace groups, and stage false flag terrorist attacks. The FBI and the Terrorism Task Force are equivalent to the Gestapo, the Stasi, and the KGB. If you value truth, justice, and freedom, you will vote and protest to keep the Joint Terrorism Task Force out of Portland.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Joe Dunn. I was born in St. Vincent's Hospital here in Portland, Oregon. I joined the United States Air Force in 2003, returned active duty in 2007. I took a note of the Constitution, and the obligation is what brings me here tonight. The federal government, they violate laws constantly. The deputy for the district attorney said that we shouldn't be concerned about that we can enter it in the MOU to, if Portland police violate the law, that we can prosecute them. But the federal government violates the law all the time. The wars that we have in Iraq and Afghanistan are illegal under Article 6 of the Constitution. We violate under the Declaration of Human Rights, Article 5 of torture. The Electronic Frontier Foundation just estimated that the FBI has committed 40,000 crimes in the last 10 years alone. Before that, in the summertime, they estimated that the FBI committed 12,000 illegal wiretaps. And of course, the National Security Agency is wiretapping their phones all the time. So the federal government, they commit crimes all the time. The state commits crimes all the time, and no one ever upholds the law. We have to uphold the law. And I think that the only way that we can do that is if we respond to the Joint Terrorism Task Force inquiry by saying that we want a FOIA request into the FBI to see how they are violating 181575. We should try and remove ourselves from the FBI further than we already are. Because as long as they continue to violate the law, we should try and remove ourselves from them. That's the only ethical response that we can have if somebody is breaking the law. If we can't try and get them to enforce it, because clearly there's no political will to do that, we should try and remove ourselves further. There was talk about databases earlier tonight. So Veterans for Peace and Iraq Veterans Against the War, I'm a member of both organizations, and both organizations have shown up in a database called Talon. The ACLU found out about it through a FOIA request back in 2006. Congress defunded it, but it was basically a list of all veterans who become anti-war protesters like myself. And when they would show up to a rally, they would give the police a picture and a bio on people that were there, and that way when they need to round up folks, they go after the nonviolent veteran protesters first, because we're the most influential, apparently. So it's kind of an honor, but at the same time it's kind of a burden. So those databases do exist. That's the type of database that they have out there to target and prosecute political people, not terrorists. That's, like I said, we need to remove ourselves further from the FBI. Thank you.
Sorry, what's the base name again?
It's called Talon, Threat Analysis Location Observation Notice.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bell, and it's good to meet the Human Rights Commission of Portland. I hope in future discussions that you have with our legislators that you'll be concerned about privacy, public safety, personal liberty, freedoms, and rights enumerated in our conversation. I certainly have big concerns. I have concerns about the FBI's long and tarnished history of assassination and murder, of staging false flag events, of participation in COINTELPRO activities, which is still going on, targeting dissident groups, especially anti-war protesters. I believe at this particular time in 5 cities that have brought in the Joint Terrorism Task Force students, dorms have been raided, their computers have been stolen, confiscated, their cell phones, et cetera, it's tremendous violations, and they're being prosecuted by the Attorney General's office. I'm concerned that the FBI has a long and tarnished history of human rights abuses, spying on citizens. I'm concerned that bringing the JTTF to Portland is a done deal. I certainly hope not. I'm further concerned about the increasing police state throughout our entire country. I'm concerned that FBI raids on students, as I mentioned before. You know, we live in dangerous times, especially as the U.S. increases its hostile and imperial reach around the world. I guess this kind of promotes the silencing of opposition at home. I suspect Portland will experience the same crackdown and repression that's experienced by many cities today as the JTTF moves into their cities. Bringing the JTTF here is antagonistic to your mission statement, especially concerning justice. As well, it's the JTTF and the FBI. They're both dangerous to a free and civil society. So I vote no, and I encourage you to.